everyone, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's good to be back. My name is Wumi Ajayi. I hope you've had a good start to 2025. In this new series, I want to talk about commitment. So, this is the big C of commitment. I know the year is not new anymore, but usually the start of the year is when we make all sorts of commitments. We want to commit to eat better, to exercise, to do better, to be a better husband, a better father, and all that. But sometimes, especially, in relation to the gym, you find out that sometimes most gyms are packing up their extra equipment by the end of January because people are falling behind in terms of the commitment that they've made. And that's the nature of humans. Sometimes we find it hard to follow through on commitment. And also, the world has just celebrated Valentine's Day, which is meant to be a day in which we celebrate love. But love, in the real sense of it, is not a day event. In marriage, love is a commitment. That's why I want to look at commitment in marriage. The lifelong commitment, the till death do us apart commitment. And there's nothing more beautiful than, when two people choose to commit their lives to each other for the rest of their lives. But beyond the wedding day, the exchange of wedding vows, the truth of whether we are actually committed to our spouses in our relationship is revealed in our actions, our dispositions, our words, and how we relate to our spouses and how we behave in our relationship. When we look at Ruth chapter 1, verse 16 to 17, we see in these few verses the height of commitment, the kind of commitment that God expects of us in marriage. In Ruth chapter 1, verse 16, Ruth replied, "Don't urge me to leave you or to turn back from you. Where you go, I will go, and where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God my God. Where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. May the Lord deal with me, be it ever so severely, if even death separates you and me." I mean, in these verses, yes, Ruth is talking to her mother-in-law, but obviously the kind of commitment, sense of commitment that she had towards her husband is what we see. Even though the husband was dead, she still had the same sense of commitment to her mother-in-law. But as with our New Year resolutions, there are many reasons why we can win in our commitment to our spouses and to the relationship. And so I'll be looking at what commitment is in the real sense of it, the benefit of commitment, the consequences of not being committed to our spouses, and a few other things. So, commitment as a word in itself is the state or quality of being dedicated to a cause, to an activity. So, it's devotion, it's allegiance, it's loyalty, it's faithfulness, it's adherence, it's fidelity, it's a pledge, it's an oath, it's a covenant, it's a contract that we've made with our spouses to commit the rest of our lives to them. Commitment is responsibility, it is obligation, it is duty, it is the charge that we have. It's a tie. When we commit ourselves to each other, we are tying ourselves to our spouses. But sometimes the pomp and pageantry of wedding, the preparation and all that, being in love, means that sometimes couples just reel out their vows of commitment without giving much thought to what they're actually committing to. But when we say, "I do," when you stand at the altar and you say, "I do," these are the things that we're actually committing to. Commitment in a married relationship is core, it's fundamental, it's the foundational pillar on which other things rest. And it takes the two people involved in a marriage to be committed to each other, to be committed to the relationship, to be committed to making it work, for them to actually have a long lasting, fulfilling, and happy marriage. It's on the foundation of commitment that love mutual respect, sense of security, trust, and every other thing rests. So, what does commitment look like in practice? Commitment is not mere loyalty, even though it's part of what commitment is about. Actually, mere loyalty can be dangerous. Couples sometimes make this mistake where they just want their spouse to support their every action. They interpret commitment to be just loyalty. This does not leave room for growth, and it becomes emotional manipulation when we are telling our spouses, "You must support me. If you're not for me, you're against me." No, commitment is not mere loyalty, even though it is loyalty. Commitment is about our willingness to walk through our challenges. Life usually have ups and downs. Every marriage will go through their ups and downs. No marriage is immune to it. But commitment means that we are committed to walking through it. Committing to walking through our challenges means that we're able to grow together. It means that we have not come into a marriage with a plan B. Because when people come into the marriage with plan B, then it's difficult for them to commit, especially when things get tough. Commitment is usually the anchor that keeps the marriage steady in turbulent times. Commitment is also providing support to each other through different stages of life. Commitment says it is our problem, not your problem. So, irrespective whether it's a job issue, health issue, money issue, whatever it is, when we are committed to each other, we see our problems as our problem. We see each other's problems as our problems rather than it's your problem, go and sort it out. Commitment in practice also means that we prioritize each other's needs. We prioritize each other's well being and happiness. And needless to say, it's a win win situation. When each person is committed to prioritizing the other person's need, both our needs get met. The issue is when one party is committed and the other party is. It also means that we are mindful of the effect that our words and actions may have on our spouses. When we are fully committed to each other, we strive to understand each other, and we strive to understand how we can please each other and how we can make each other happy. Commitment puts the other person's need above one's own need. That is commitment. Now, I want to talk about the essentials of commitment in marriage. Number one thing is communication. I've done, a series on communication in my past videos. If anyone is interested, please go and check them out. Communication is critical to commitment because it's only through communication that we share our thoughts, our feelings, and our needs. Without effective communications, there's no way we can walk through our issues. There's a joke that they make of a man that told his wife that when the wife said, "Oh, you don't tell me you love me," and the husband said, "I told you the day we got married, I haven't changed my mind." That is not commitment. In commitment, we communicate our feelings, our thoughts. If you love me, tell me. If you care about me, tell me. Because without communication, without effective communication, commitment will not work. The other essential ingredient of commitment is forgiveness. Unforgiveness can impact our sense of commitment to our spouses. None of us is perfect. We all make mistakes. And like they say, marriage is the union of two forgivers. We have to forgive. It's essential for the success of our marriage and for us to enjoy a long and lasting relationship. Unforgiveness can deprive us of the joy that we should enjoy in marriage because when we live in unforgiveness, there's no way you will commit to your spouse. Again, I've done a series on forgiveness. If anybody is interested, please check them out on my YouTube channel. The third essential ingredient of commitment is trust. Trust is paramount. I mean, how can I commit myself to you if I don't trust you? It's the same thing in other areas of life. If you invest in a business that you don't trust, or you invest or you give a loan to someone that you don't trust, people will think you're foolish. And so in marriage, it's important that we build trust. Trust is built. And as married couples, we must avoid everything that will affect our trust. Because when trust is broken, it's actually harder to build it back up. It's not impossible, but it's hard to build it back up. So it's paramount that we build trust in our marriage and that we avoid any actions or words that might undermine the trust that we have for each other or the trust that our spouses have in us. Without trust, the relationship will crumble. And we build trust over time through honesty, communication, and a willingness to be open and vulnerable with each other. The fourth thing is sacrifice and compromise. I mean, commitment in marriage requires sacrifice and compromise. Marriage is not always easy. There will be times when we need to make sacrifices for each other, and no sacrifice is easy. That's why it's called sacrifice. It's called sacrifice for a reason. Compromise in marriage means giving up your way for our way. So it's not my way anymore, it's our way. That is not easy either, but that is important and as an essential ingredient of commitment. So it's important that we keep our marriage in focus at all times, because if we don't keep our marriage in focus, then it will be hard for us to sacrifice and to make compromises, because generally human beings are selfish. Everybody wants to have their way. But when we keep the marriage in focus through commitment, we're able to make the necessary sacrifices and compromise to make the relationship to go forward. The fifth thing I want to talk about is making time for each other. We can't say we're committed to each other when we don't make time for each other. Making time for each other is one of the most critical aspects of a marriage commitment. It doesn't only convey to our spouses that they matter to us. It also helps to strengthen our bond and to keep the sparks alive in our marriage. It's important that we both prioritize our time together and to make it happen on a regular basis. It shouldn't just be one person's responsibility. We must both take it up as our responsibility to make sure that we spend time together either on a daily basis, weekly basis, monthly basis. And this takes intentionality. We both have to be intentional, because there will always be things, there will always be other things that wants to catch our attention. Attention is the new currency. There will always be things that need our attention. People, work, church, ministry, children, and so many other things. But we need to be intentional. We cannot say we are committed to each other when we are not spending time together as a priority. Like I said at the start of this video, the fact that we are married and we bear the same name, we live under the same roof, we have children together, does not mean that we are committed to each other. And it does not mean that we are committed to the relationship. Lack of commitment can come from either spouse. Therefore, it's very important that we are aware of our commitment level and that we communicate openly with each other. If you have any concerns and you think your spouse is not showing the sense of commitment either to you or to the relationship, then that's something that we need to be talking about, because a lack of commitment in marriage can lead to all sorts of problems. One major problem is lack of communication. We talked about one of the ingredients of commitment as effective communication. Actually, when there is no commitment, then there will be lack of communication. Because if you're not committed to the relationship, you're not committed to making it work, then there's actually no motivation to talk. There's no motivation to be invested. There's no motivation in ensuring that the line of communication is open, because it is through open and honest communication that we're able to deal with our issues, that we're able to understand each other better, and that we're able to grow. There will also be lack of intimacy and physical affection where there is lack of commitment. When we're not committed to each other, then there's no incentive to have physical or to maintain physical connection with our spouses. When there is lack of commitment, partners feel, spouses feel unappreciated. They feel neglected because there is no incentive to spend time together. There is no incentive to be with each other. And so, again, this could be a sign. If you're feeling unappreciated, if you're feeling neglected, then we need to be having a conversation with our spouse. We need to be having a conversation. If you don't feel your spouse is supporting you, you don't feel they appreciate you, you feel that they're neglecting you or ignoring you, then we need to be talking about it. It might be that they're losing their sense of commitment. It might be that there are issues that we need to address. Lack of commitment in a married relationship can also lead to infidelity. And sometimes when we say infidelity, people think, oh, it's when somebody has slept with, somebody else that is not their spouse. No, actually, when we start to have emotional connection with other people outside of, with other people that we're not married to, that on its own is infidelity. It's cheating, because the only person that we should have emotional connection with, that we should be secure with emotionally, is our spouses. And of course, the ultimate danger of lack of commitment is divorce. In the worst case scenario, it can lead to the end of the marriage. And sometimes, we just have to look inwards and ask ourselves, the effort that we put into other things, the effort that we put into our work, the effort that we even put into ending the marriage. Sometimes when we put that effort into fully committing to the relationship, being present, being in the relationship, might end up paying off. Marriage is a journey, and commitment is not a destination. It's a continuous effort. It's something that we keep working at. And so if, from some of the points I've mentioned, you think there's lack of commitment in your relationship, that's something that we need to sit down and talk through with our spouses, so that if there are issues, we can address them, look at them together, look for solutions, seek professional help if we need to, so that we can get our marriage to where we want it to be. So I'm going to stop here. I've talked about what commitment is, what commitment looks like in practice, the essentials of commitment, the dangers of lack of commitment in our relationship. Thank you so much for joining me. Remember, like I always say, this is about enjoying our marriage, because marriage is meant to be enjoyed, not merely endured. God bless you, and I'll see you in my next video.